And we are back with another episode of the Great Movie Pod. I am one of your hosts, Noah, and this is.
What's up? I'm Caleb.
How's it going? It's so good to be back. We took another little bit of a break. We try to do these every week, but sometimes with storms and with travel and whatnot, it is hard to keep up with. But for the most part, we've been pretty good about weekly uploads, and
Mhm.
we have some topics picked out, I should say, for the next couple weeks. So we should be good on getting those out. But this week's topic is pretty fun. We backstory. We picked a topic, and then we realized there were not as many movies in that topic that we thought there were. So we postponed that topic for a couple weeks from now. So I won't reveal that until that podcast.
No,
But we did. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no. It's funny because like when we sometimes we will choose a topic and there's so many to choose from, movies and whatever, and then
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be like a little more of a narrow because we're specifically trying to narrow it because the topic's too broad. And
Yeah.
then sometimes we're like, well, let's do this one, and then we just kind of go our separate ways. And then a few days later, we're like, wait a second, there's not enough movies to do a pod about this.
Yeah, yeah. But this week's topic's cool. We figured with the Super Bowl coming up this week on Sunday, we would do kind of a look at some of our favorite football movies. Now, these aren't necessarily a definitive list. It's not a top five. We might have, I think on my list I have my favorite football movie of all time, but it's not necessarily a list. It's just kind of like let's have a football conversation. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you wanna start us off with one of them, and then I'll
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start off. And by the way, for those of you who are just seeing us for the first time, if you can like and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff, whatever platform you're on, I think. Noah, what platforms are we on right now?
Right now we are on YouTube, where you can watch the full video. We are on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, and as of last week, we are also on Amazon and I believe iHeart Music. But that one, I don't know if it went through or not. So if you found us on iHeart Music, it did.
Cool. Nice, nice. Okay, so like I said, we're doing this pod just on the we both love football. We both have teams to root for. Um I'm a Bills fan. Noah, you are a
Giants
Giants
fan.
fan.
Yep.
Yeah, and even though our respective teams are not in the Super Bowl this year, and I think between the defense, a coach who has clearly been out of his league, and they just can't get it done, and then your team obviously just I don't know what to say about your team, but we're not in
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, and that's fine
Nope.
because we're used to it at this point.
Yep.
And but that doesn't keep us from loving the game, of course, and we like
Um,
just the whole um, the spectacle. I think the Super Bowl halftime show is ridiculous this year, but that's fine. And but the spectacle of it, the great teams, the it's just a great all the food that you eat. We'll talk about that a little bit about some of the maybe at the end we'll talk about some of our favorite Super Bowl foods that just you have to have that. You can't just sit there and watch the game like a bump on the log.
yeah.
But so in preparation, like I don't prep like real life events like okay, the Super Bowl's coming up, so I'm gonna watch like a whole bunch of football movies. That's not kind of how I roll. Like I will sometimes get in
No.
the mood, but um I guess because we just had the whole season, I don't care about watching a football movie, but I do want to watch, the big game. And uh so some of the movies that I really like, it doesn't I think one of the great things about sports movies is that inherently there is built into them drama, um, intensity, action, oftentimes injury, you're like the 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 character who is coming from nowhere to be successful, or the successful person who is down in his luck, or he's about to retire, or there's all these different dramatic. So inherently sports movies make good movies theoretically. They're just not done a ton, which is a little
Yeah.
strange. But um, so I think the first one that I'll go with, I'll throw out there that I really enjoy. Um, it's called Invincible.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and It's a story of an underdog, a guy who's just like a some Joe Schmo on the street, literally. Um, in the I think it was the late 70s, I think, or somewhere in the 70s, and he's in Philadelphia, and it's played by Mark Wahlberg, and the guy the Eagles are terrible, and they do an open tryout for anybody in the city who wants to try and be an Eagle. And all his buddies, they play like local kind of rec ball, and all his buddies are like, "You should try out. You're really good." And he's like, "I don't know. I'm really little. I'm not like these big football players. I'm good in like our rec league." And it's just it's a true story about this guy who's like, screw it. I'll give it a shot. And I think it's just a real fun movie. There's the music is great. You have the gorgeous Elizabeth Banks.
Mm.
You have the ever solid, perfect Greg Kinnear, who's just been good forever.
Dude does
What
not
do you
miss every movie. We could do a pod just on Greg Kinnear's filmography, I think.
Yeah,
That
he's
dude
so good.
so good in every movie, and like he went away for like 10 or so years, and now he started making movies again, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not seen Invincible, so that's on my list of
Oh,
movies to
oh,
get to.
okay.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I love Mark Wahlberg though, and I love uh Banks. She's great. Um I think before I get into my movies, the football, you kind of gave your little intro to the football spirit. For me, when with talking about sports movies, and some of these movies for sure make me feel this way, because I'm so passionate about sports. When I watch sports movies, if they're done well, even if I've seen it before, I find myself actually rooting for the team that the movie is about. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
so like yes, yes, go, run, go. And
Yeah.
then I remember, dude, you've seen this movie before. You know how this movie ends,
Right.
and these are not real. Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not a real game. But the emotion that these movies uh instill in us and bring up is just incredible. And that's why we love sports movies and football specifically. I think uh there's not so there aren't a lot of games that are as team oriented as football. It is not a one man show. You need a guy to throw the
Right.
ball, a guy to catch the ball, a guy to block for the ball, a guy to intercept the ball, a kicker. There's so many pieces that you can't just win alone. And I think that is such a big element to a lot of these movies.
Well, yeah.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna add, and this is sort of interesting. So, as you're talking about the teamwork, and all these different spots to come together, which is why with basketball and football, like they have to all like just come together at the right time, with the right purpose, in order to win a championship or come close. And it's also true about soccer and hockey and other ones. And but weirdly enough, and we had talked about this because I'm a big soccer guy. I played for 20 25 years. There are very, very few really good soccer films, and it's or American football, as some would say, or you could just say football. But there's very few great soccer films made, which is surprising because it's the number one sport on the planet. Hockey also is super well loved, and it's a big sport. Very few more, but there's more good hockey movies than there are soccer movies, and there's a few that have been made internationally, and even they're very few and far between, which is funny because I've lived overseas, and people there go to movies. It isn't like they're. It's like it isn't that people are going to love football, baseball, hockey because it's only Americans that go watch sports movies. It's like, no, you got like when I lived in Argentina, they have these giant movie multiplexes where they show all of the movies in the world. They love going to movies, but there's just no soccer movies. So
Yeah.
that's just my little aside tangent about go ahead and yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so a lot of these football movies are very heavy on camaraderie, and because of that, there's a lot of different players that you have to cast, and so because of that, a lot of these films have really fun casts too. And that's another thing I love about sports movies. You get a lot of your A-list actors like Mark Wahlberg or Denzel or whoever, but You also get a lot of character actors, and you get a lot of. I wouldn't necessarily say Greg Kinnear is a character actor. He's more of a straight man, but he's also not an A-list guy. Because I don't think if you walk down the street, people would go, "Oh yeah, Greg Kinnear." You'd have to go,
Oh, right.
"He's that
Yeah.
guy in that thing," but he's not like a character actor. It's a very
Well,
interesting
he's a guy that
place.
anyone that loves movies is gonna they're gonna know him immediately. The
Yeah.
thing about character actors in sports movies, it's interesting. It's like if you're casting for an action movie, a Mission Impossible 18, and there's always going to be some action sequences, and like so in the Mission Impossible movies, you have aside from the regulars, or some of the regulars, you have like the guy that plays Benji. Now
Yes.
he's a little British guy who's supremely funny. I love him as an actor. I don't care what you do to him, you're not going to turn him into an action star.
No,
The same
Simon
with
Pegg.
like what's that?
Simon Pegg, for those who
Simon
don't.
Pegg, yeah. So you're not going to
Yeah.
turn into an action star. But with sports movies, it's a little different because
Yeah.
you can very easily do body doubles and stuff for like these sports sequences. So like you could make a movie where Simon Pegg plays a shortstop for the LA Dodgers or whatever from like the 1950s, and I would believe he's the shortstop because they can cut and they can film in a way where he could
Yeah.
be in a sports film, and we get back to the character actors making these movies so good, but they don't have to be athletes.
Yeah.
Whereas in a Mission Impossible, you kind of have to be a little athletic to pull some of the action sequences off.
Yeah, and actually, fun fact: if you are an athletic person and you've wanted to get into acting, one of my friends actually does extra work, but specifically in the sports genre. And they will call him. Producers will call him, and they will bring him in to play a pickup game of basketball on camera, or to play a game of football, and he's the guy on the other team. And so it's a very niche brand of, you're not necessarily a stunt double, but you're also not acting because you're actually playing the sport.
Sure.
It's a cool mix of sports and acting. So just I thought I'd throw that out there because that was pretty cool. My buddy was in a basketball movie that came out a couple years called I think it was called Boogie, but yeah. So that's a thing. But
Well,
football. So we're now on football. My first movie that I'd bring up. This is a movie I saw as a kid, and objectively, I have not seen it as an adult. Objectively, it's probably not the greatest film of all time. However, the story wise, and because it's an indie film, I just love it. It's a movie called Facing the Giants.
wait, facing the Giants.
Yeah.
Who? So tell me more about it. I can't. It's not
It's a
bringing a
movie
bell.
called Facing the Giants. There's nobody in that movie. Like
Okay.
everybody,
Okay.
it was made at the time. I think this company has produced maybe 4 or 5 more films, but the production company was a group of churches in Georgia that was like, we want to make some Christian films, and their first foray into the film business was this movie called Facing the Giants, and they wrote the movie for years. I think one of the pastors from the church plays the coach. It's like this like group project, but it's really well made. It's really well done. It's your typical football movie. There's some faith elements, but like it's really a football movie. And the theme is like, your typical, the high school team sucks. They haven't won in years. They bring in a coach, and then they're the underdogs, and it's this, David versus Goliath facing the Giants story. Now, the reason I love this movie, it's a funny movie. They have humor. They've got heart. It's your typical football drama. But there's a scene in the movie that, to this day, I will go back and watch on YouTube. They're doing practice one day, and the coach has this lineman do what's called a death crawl, where you put another guy on your back, and you're blindfolded, and you have to crawl from one end of the field to whenever the coach tells you to stop with this guy on your back with a blindfold on.
Oh wow.
And this guy is crawling, and the coach is down on his knees, like next to the guy crawling with him, like, give me 10 more, give me 10 more, give me 10 more. And like the music is welling, and it's like you're so anxious, even though like there's nothing really high stakes, but like the way they build the music and they build the coach like yelling in this guy's ear, and he's like crawling, and he crawls the whole length of the football field. And it's like it's just such an awesome scene that it's just like of the tale of human endurance and support for, because he's got his whole team around him like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it's like it's this amazing scene in a movie that's probably, it's probably a C-list movie. It's not like
Hmm.
it's not going to win awards, but like if it's on, I would watch it. But it's this one scene that I remember through most sports films that I watch. It's this death crawl scene, and it's so good. And it's the perfect reminder of what I was talking about, some of the themes of this movie being the camaraderie and the just sheer will and human determination to overcome obstacles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the first movie that I'll start off on, because I know we'll have some ones that we can both contribute to, but that's one that I had to put out there because I loved that movie. It's one of my favorite football movies.
Well,
Yeah.
it's sort of funny if we talk about movies that were and maybe we could do a whole pod about this. It would be interesting. I hadn't thought about this before, but like movies that um were really influential to us as kids, and because not they don't always stand up to like an adult with your critique and your life experience and all that kind of stuff. Like I remember there's an action movie that I absolutely loved. It wasn't action. It was a movie. It was about a guy who traveled through time, and I might have been a made for TV movie or something like that. But it was just this cool movie, and I absolutely loved it. And I remember when I was an adult, when IMDb was created and all these different things, and years later, I was like, I remember the name of the movie, and I looked it up, and I'm like, there's nobody in this movie. Like, why was it so amazing to me? So it's like,
Yeah.
so I I I don't have on the tip of my tongue like 6, 7 different movies of these, but so that it would
Yeah.
take a while for me to sort of have like a list somewhere. I just sort of jot them down over the course of a couple months to like try and remember what those influential movies would be. But um, yeah, that might be a fun conversation to have about and we'll have to look up, we'll have to really deep, really look up about like, where it was made and why it was only these small movies, and who was this actor who was the lead who didn't go anywhere, or it's sort of
Yeah.
like, I know it's a big sports movie. I guess we're going to talk about it now, but it's not a football movie. But the movie Hoosiers,
Mm.
not too long ago, for whatever reason, I was looking. I think we were talking about something, and I was going to bring up Gene Hackman, and I was doing a little research
Mm.
on him. Looked up Hoosiers. I don't think we really talked about it at length or anything, but like
No.
the interesting thing about Hoosiers is that most of the people in the movie would never did acting before and never did acting after that.
Huh.
So like in the movie, there's a famous character called Jimmy Chitwood who runs around the
Yeah.
picket fence, and he hits the shot and he does all the stuff. Not an actor.
Hmm.
All most of the guys on that team, not actors. The coaches, the fans, the people in the town folk, not actors. So it's
I
like,
I wonder when they do Hoosiers 2 if they'll have the
oh,
same
they're not
thing.
doing Hoosiers. They
No,
can't
no,
do
no,
it.
no, no. I just say Hoosiers 2 because the Hoosiers just won it'll actually be a football movie this time because they just won the NCAA tournament, or
Oh,
the
oh,
like
oh, 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 I see what
for
you're saying.
football.
Sure.
Yeah, because they're that's definitely going to be a movie.
It'll
I
be a
was going to
movie,
bring
yeah,
this.
some
I was
down
going
the
to bring
road,
this
yeah.
up because they brought this coach in. The program's never won. It's the perfect like American
It
underdog
it'll
story.
be a film one day for sure.
So
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
I wanted to bring that up because it
Oh,
will be a football movie. You just gotta
yeah,
wait.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It will, yeah. For certain. Even if it's like a made for TV movie, it'll
Yeah,
still be made.
yeah.
Um, okay, so I'll bring up a movie that people, I don't know if they've heard of, but they've heard some of the actors. It wasn't a giant movie, but it's a movie called The Replacements,
Mm,
and it's a
yes.
straight comedy, and it stars Gene Hackman with Keanu Reeves and then a whole bunch of semi-known and unknowns, and it's basically the story of of a team, a professional football team who is, um, uh, they're not bad or good. They're basically there's a strike that happens in the sport, and the owners basically decide they want to continue to compete because they might be able to make the playoffs. The revenue they lose or make, and so they decided they would hire scabs, scabs being the replacements, which is hence the name. And so they bring back a coach who had been retired, Gene Hackman, and then they go and find a quarterback who was like he was washed out of even going pro because of injuries and other things, who turns out to be Keanu Reeves, and then they get a bunch of guys, and it's a comedy. And it's what I love about it is that you have Keanu, and obviously we all know him from all his different roles, but he has this very deadpan humor in all of his films. If he gets a chance to do a little humor, even in
Yeah.
the John Wick films, he has humor. It's just very dry, very one-liners, and he does that through. So it's not like when they wrote John Wick they wanted to write that for him. That's just kind of how he does his humor, and he's
Yeah.
really good in Replacements as that. And then Gene Hackman, who isn't known for comedy, although he has a couple of really good comedies under his belt,
Yeah.
legendaries like the
Yeah.
um the Royal Tenenbaums and
Birdcage with Robin Williams.
yeah, the Birdcage, Welcome to Mooseport, which is I think was his last film, was a comedy with um what's the guy's name? Raymond the guy who played everyone hates loves a Raymond, whatever it was.
Ray Romano.
Ray Romano. He was in that
Oh, okay.
with Gene Hackman. But
Oh, okay.
and then there's a whole bunch of other, like Orlando Jones is super funny in it. Jon Favreau is like he's just naturally he's a natural second or third actor in a film. Like you don't need him to be anything but himself, and then he's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, And then they have like I don't know how to pronounce this. He's Welsh. I don't know how to pronounce his name. That Rice, you know the guy I'm talking about, Reese or Rice. It's like
Oh,
RHYS
yeah, 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 yeah.
Ifans or
Yeah.
Ifans
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah, yeah. That guy.
I don't know how to
Yeah.
pronounce it. And then there's a whole bunch of like great character actors or guys that didn't do a ton of acting who were just perfect in that role. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. It's been on my list. It's up. Yeah, yeah. It's been on my list. There's so many movies in so little time.
That's true. I have to say, and for the audience, it's like, obviously between Noah and I, we have an age discrepancy, but like if we're talking, you know, like certain topics, I don't really get into big conversations with just because certain topics you just need Tom and the Earth to sort of absorb whatever to sort of form a real solid opinion. So no, like I'm not going to have like certain conversations with certain age brackets, and it's nothing. Neither here nor there whether I respect them or don't respect them. Certain things you just need enough time to watch the movies. So
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
you know we laugh when we talk because like we love movies more than almost anyone we know, but on like my history of like movies is like loving movies. Got to college and my roommate he ran back in the day, he ran a Blockbuster movie. And so every night he came home with a stack of movies and we like mystery science theaters these movies and like just ridiculed or loved them in rapture silence watching these great films. And then my first roommate out of college ran a different movie store, and he was an indie film guy, so he brought home indie films. So I watched every single thing. And then when I lived overseas, to wrap it up, um, when I lived overseas, all the movies over there are bootlegged. So if you
Mm.
stay in like a hotel or a hostel, like whatever the movies are in the States, they'll already be on DVD in like the place for you to watch. So
We
like you don't
have
have to.
we have back home there's 3 DVDs that you brought to the States for us. We have Cars before anybody else. We had Chicken Little before anybody else, and then I think there was one more, but I remember Cars and Chicken Little for sure being on
That's
this little
funny. Oh, by the way, thanks for the like.
DVD.
If the feds are listening in, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. We've got your bootleg DVD guy. Um,
It's me.
yeah, cause there's not enough going on with everything else in the world.
What's funny
So
because I remember I watched Taken with Liam Neeson like 6 months before it came out because it came out
Wow.
overseas before it came
Yeah.
out in the States. So I watched it and got a DVD of it and came back to the States. And I was talking to somebody. I'm like, oh man, you got to see Taken. And they're like, what? And it just, I even looked into like the premiere in the States was like 3 months from then.
That's weird. And now
Yeah.
now I now maybe they got ahead of that because now I feel like movies are weird because sometimes they'll come out here first, sometimes they'll come out there first.
It's
It's
usually
all over
within
the
a couple
place.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes in Japan movies will come out like 3 months after a movie will come out
Well, that, yeah,
here.
there's
And
some
it's
China, Japan, a few that there is a
yeah,
big lag time between when
yeah.
they, yeah.
But your last movie was a comedy, so I will
Yeah.
throw out. I have two comedies that both don't require a lot of time, so I'll throw both of them out because
Okay.
you probably either haven't seen them or don't have anything to talk about them. But the first one is a Don Knotts movie called Gus.
Oh,
Um,
that rings a bell.
and listen, let me pull up the cast list here of this movie because I there's some underrated people in this movie that I know
Well, what is it
quite.
about?
So Don Knotts plays the coach of a football
I was about to
team.
say, you could do a lot with acting. I don't know if you can convince me that John Knotts is in it playing football.
Don Knotts plays a coach of a football
Okay.
team that needs a kicker, and they find out that there is a mule in South America that can kick field goals.
I
And
do.
so,
I haven't seen it, but I
yeah,
know of
yeah.
this
And
movie. Okay.
he travels to South America and he signs the kid who owns the mule and the mule to kick for his football team. And
Wasn't there a
that's the
movie?
movie.
Wasn't there a movie with a supermodel who tries out for the team as a kicker and makes the team?
There,
Some redhead.
I'm sure there is, but this movie stars Ed Asner, Don
Okay.
Knotts, Tim Conway,
Of course, they go together.
and Dick Van Patten,
Oh, okay.
um, and a couple other notable like character actors from back in that time. But it's objectively not going to be people's cup of tea. But I love Don Knotts. I think it is the dumbest, most awesome movie. Like just the premise alone, people are like, "What the heck are you talking about?" But it is on Disney Plus. So if you want to watch Gus, it is on Disney Plus. It is from 1976. And my other movie is even older. My other movie is a comedy from 1932.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is called Horse Feathers. It is a Marx Brothers movie.
Oh.
Um, and it stars Groucho, Chico, Harpo, and the lesser known of the brothers, Zeppo.
Zeppo. Yeah.
Yep. And it is this musical comedy about a football team. And Groucho is one of the presidents of the university that this football team is at. And there's a at the end of the movie they have a football game, and there's just the most outrageous. It's the most outrageous football game you've ever seen. Bouncing balls, uh tic-tac-toe being played on a lineman's ass, just hilarity. And it's the Marx Brothers. They did not make bad movies. They only made like 7 movies total, 10 movies total, and all of them for comedy's sake are really solid writing as far as their kind of comedy goes. So I put those 2 movies out there because they're very short. They're not gonna win any critical acclaim, but as far as comedy goes for the genre of football, those are some of my favorites: Horse Feathers and Gus.
Nice. Okay, so you can go again to give us a movie that some of us might have seen.
Yes. Okay. Uh, so the last movie that I have on the list, that is a movie that people might have seen because it's a newer movie, is American Underdog, the Kurt Warner story. It just
I
came
know of it.
out. Yeah, it just came out a couple years ago. And it stars Zachary Levi, who is amazing, by the way.
He's
Really,
great.
really talented actor. Good in a lot of different projects and a lot of different styles. He was in the Thor movies. He played Shazam in the DC universe with Zack Snyder.
Who did he play
Lots
in
of
the
different.
Thor movies? I just recently watched one of those.
The one of the friends of Thor with the beard.
Oh,
They
that
all
was
have
him.
beards, but
Okay,
like,
yeah, it
yeah,
was
one
like
of his crew.
not the guy with the big
Not
beard,
the
but the more
big beard.
coif.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, he played the guy with the big beard.
No, no, no. I said not the guy with the big beard. The other
Oh,
guy.
oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But this movie is about legendary quarterback Kurt Warner,
Yep.
and it's a biography of his life and how he got into football. And I think there's probably a rule somewhere that it's not a sports movie. Excuse me. Unless Dennis Quaid is in it. I don't know. There's like a rule, but Dennis Quaid plays a coach, an old grizzled coach that's trying to get a Super Bowl, and he's not in the movie very much. But it's him and Dennis Quaid. It wasn't necessarily an indie film, but it wasn't a big budget picture either. So it had some press, but it wasn't like on the front of everyone's ticket. Probably because of the politics involving both of those gentlemen. But it really good.
Well, it does feel that anytime there's any kind of like positive spin on Christianity, that the press or the media doesn't want to give it its druthers. And I think that's unfortunate, because if it had been someone who choose any other religion, they would have been fine with it. And they would have been like, oh, look at this guy who used X religion to help him as he was coming through the ups and downs of trying to get into the NFL and da. But it's something about, there's quite obviously there's a big Christian anti-Christian bias in the media. That's not really debatable. I mean, unfortunate, because I think the story of Kurt Warner is pretty remarkable, really, in terms of an
Very,
underdog. And go ahead
very.
and
He was just like one of the coolest things. He's just working at a supermarket, just stocking cans, and then they're like,
yeah,
"Hey, you want to come play football?" It's like,
right, yeah,
what? How does that happen? Like that just doesn't happen, and it is truly one of the greatest stories ever, because he goes to a Super Bowl and ends up going to another one with a whole different team,
yeah,
and like just one of the best stories in American sports.
yeah.
Really a true underdog, and that's why it's called American Underdog. And that was a really good film. I actually watched that on a plane. That's a
Oh,
really good plane movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
I knew it was coming out because I saw a trailer for it, but again, it was one of those movies that like it just never they didn't really show it, and it
yeah,
which is again it's unfortunate, because I think regardless of, it's like there's there's so many elements that have been so many great stories that have been highly um, what's the word influenced by someone's belief systems. And I think that it's unfortunate if, as a filmmaker, you shy away from not just putting it on screen, but also then promoting it and then getting it onto whatever particular networks or media platforms you got to make deals with, Netflix or whatever, and just
yeah.
to get people to go see it. Because it's like there's some portion of the media that wants to say, oh, it's not a religious nation anymore, and it's like that's not true. And it isn't that people that are Christian want to watch only Christian movies. That's not true. The same with someone who's Islamic, is just doesn't want to just watch Islamic. Both of these people want to watch the Mission Impossible movies. It's like
Right.
people just, and I hate it. And I think we would both agree that like people just want good movies. They don't want to
Yeah.
have like that. You
Well,
can
yeah, I
have very
think,
specific movies, but people just want good
yeah.
movies. You
And
know.
I think also there's a jump in culture, um, not to get too political because we don't really do that on the pod, but I think
Right.
when it comes to movies on both sides of the aisle, there's a quickness to say, oh, this actor is in this movie and they don't agree with what I agree with, so I'm just not going to watch this movie and I hope it crashes and burns. And I think that's so unhealthy for film on the whole, because there are so many good projects. There are also a lot of, also with this topic, there's also a lot of bad projects that,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
maybe deserve criticism. But there's a lot of
Sure.
good projects that, maybe is put together by people who are not aligned with your belief system. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that watching this movie all of a sudden is going to enact all the things that they want in the world. It's just a movie. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of weird stigmatism around, oh, we can't watch this because this is supporting ideals that we don't believe. If the movie has nothing to do with that, and for this case, it's a football movie, and I think
Right.
I wish it got more attention because it was really good.
And
I really
and you know
liked
what's
it.
interesting about football, and you could even argue soccer, although I've already stated how there aren't many great soccer films, but like
Yeah,
a huge number of countries that like are the biggest soccer countries in the world are mostly Catholic.
yeah,
And there's a lot of them that they have this deep belief systems, and they don't like not it hasn't anything to do with the movies or the sport itself. Same with football. There's like a great deal of football players. Like you watch, some game is done, and
yeah,
like whatever the Indiana guy who just won the Heisman, like he's up there
yeah,
thanking God and the whole thing. Like when that turns into a film, and it will be made into a film at some point,
yeah,
like they're gonna have that guy saying some version of the same thing, and that's okay because it's like that's just part of human nature, and it's
yeah,
okay. Like the
yeah.
Catholics are like that's cool, and the Muslims are like okay, that's cool. It's not my God, but I can agree that like he was
Right,
faithful to whatever, and it's just
right.
the filmmakers have to stop being scared of just presenting things as they are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's a perfect example. What's another film you've got?
okay, so I got a bunch more, and I don't know how many you have, so we'll sort of you
Let me
know.
see how many more I have. I have.
Some of them you may have seen, some have you maybe not.
I think
Uh,
I have two more.
okay.
So
Now
you
I
can
I don't.
spout off as many as you want.
Okay, so I have two that I'm not going to list quite yet. I have
Okay.
two I think that are the best football movies ever, but I'm not going to list them
Okay.
yet. I'm going to list a
Okay.
couple that are sort of like just football
Sure.
movies that could people enjoy. Um, I'm going to throw a movie out there that like it could have been better, but as a movie itself, there was a lot of things that were great in it, and some things that weren't as great. But it's a movie called Any Given Sunday.
I thought you were gonna bring that up.
Okay, with
Yeah.
Al Pacino, the great
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid,
Mm.
James Wood,
Again.
Jamie Foxx, Jim Brown, the great
Yeah.
Lawrence Taylor, LT. So like and it was directed by Oliver Stone, and there are moments in that movie because Oliver Stone he definitely has his own imagination in terms of how he wants to shoot a film, what he wants to portray, and I'm not certain if it was written completely by him, but it certainly was like, partially written by him because he's a great writer. And like it has one of the best motivational coach scenes
Yes.
ever with Al Pacino talking
Yes.
about you go in and you give it the one you can do it. Do an Al Pacino. Do you know the
I don't
coaching
know if I
one?
know the speech off the top of my head. I need to work on that though.
But
Yeah.
so he's up there and he gives this great speech and his like he basically channels himself. It's like Al Pacino goes super raspy Al Pacino and very his accent is so Al Pacino. So sometimes he's just himself and sometimes he goes so deep into it. But him
Yeah. Here
speaking the Oliver
I
Stone,
pulled it up. I can read a little bit as Al Pacino.
yeah.
Let me see. Uh, I don't really know what to say. 3 minutes to the biggest battle of our professional lives. All comes down to today. Either we heal as a team or we're going to crumble inch by inch. Yeah,
Yes.
just
Yeah, and it's like and he goes in and it's like and Oliver Stone of course cuz he's one of the great filmmakers. I don't always love the project choices that he makes. Like I think again, I can go back to Spielberg. I don't know how old Spielberg is, but I think he's probably around 80 years old. He's not going to have many movies left, and I want him to make a historical drama every year or every other year for the years he has left because he is so good as a filmmaker. And I think Oliver
yeah,
Stone is so good at it. I don't want him wasting time on really goofy projects that he doesn't need to do those. He can
yeah.
focus on Daniel-san, like
I'm trying to think. When was the last time Oliver Stone made a movie?
well, he made a movie. Well, let's see, he
We
made a
he
movie
made one that
about
he made that movie we saw with about the with Joseph Gordon-Levitt about the leaks in the NSA.
Yeah, where he did the Q&A, live Q&A
Yeah, with
afterwards about
Snowden.
Edward Snowden. Snowden.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which was good, and Oliver Stone's very political, so you can't take him out of the politics because like he does like making movies about politics, so that's going to be part of his
Yeah.
thing. But he also made a movie about like a guy who survived 9/11 that I watched the film. It was okay, but I didn't think Oliver Stone needed to take a year of his life to make that particular story,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But whatever. Everyone makes their own choices. That's fine. But in this particular case, I think he made a very successful football film that I think he was trying to marry the modern like life of these uber billionaire athletes and all the models and all the drugs and all the stuff that is surrounding them. And I think it was honest to whatever degree, but it also took away from the filmmaking because all of a sudden you have Al Pacino talking about getting over the line and getting your 1 inch to get to that da, 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 da. And it's like so brilliant and the audience is in it, and then it cuts, and then the next scene is like Jamie Foxx like rubbing body oil on himself, and there's like this obnoxious rap music playing. And I get that all the cultures are all still built into the modern NFL, and maybe that's why modern football, modern whatever sport is hard to make movies of. It's easier to make a movie about, you know, a 1930s football game rather than
Yeah.
a 19 or a 2019.
Well, yeah, because I think the games, you look at movies like The Natural or even the late '90s. You got The Rookie with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah,
They're movies that are just about the sport. They
it's a
are
little more
about
pure.
they are about the human condition, but they're about the sport. They're about the game, the integrity of the game. And
Yeah,
I think now with how sports have played out, every athlete is an influencer now, and every
yeah.
athlete has a
Unfortunately, I would say.
brand. And so
Yeah,
then that brand seeps into the media, which is probably why there are not a lot of sports movies, because it's less about the game and more about the fame.
well, and it's also
And
why these athletes become
I didn't mean to
less and
rhyme.
less likable. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because it's like you said, the brand thing, and it's like I don't. There was something about this. Maybe after I say it, it'll occur to me what movie or TV show or commercial it was in. Um, what it was someone who was talking about his brand, and his coach or whomever it was is like, you know, he was basically he was coming back to him and he was like, no, you don't have a brand because you haven't won anything. You don't have a thing.
Yeah.
All you have is yourself until you build something, and then you could build a brand. But
And
it's like,
now they give you brands without you even doing anything. You get a
oh
brand deal
right, and
before you get a shoe deal when you enter the league in the NBA before you even win a game.
yeah, and it's and you, when we and this is, I mean, obviously it's a huge topic, and if you're watching this, you're probably only watching it because you like both sports and you like
Yeah, I
movies,
was
which
gonna
is
say
a
if you got
smaller.
42 minutes into this podcast and you don't like sports, thank you.
Right. Because we
Like,
could do multiple podcasts just on any kind of sports any day of the week. Maybe we will one day. We'll branch off and do a secondary
yeah,
pod. But that's the thing. It's like you have these athletes that who knows, and you have all the scandals that are coming out now, and I'm glad that they're investigating, and they're like the NBA guys that were cheating and based on cards, and they were like throwing games based on this, and now the NCAA where they're talking about the athletes that are throwing games or they're sitting out injured, and are they sitting out injured or are they protecting quote unquote their brand because they want to get that extra contract? And now like everyone's like, oh well, they got their bag, and it's like, well, maybe they should just concentrate on playing and winning and have a 12-year career, an 11-year career instead of a 15-year career where you're off and on healthy, but you never win anything because you never sacrifice that knee
right.
playing on it. What like who was the famous guy for the Knicks that came in on a bum knee in the 70s? Was it Frazier?
Yeah,
Who's he's the play-by-play guy.
the play-by-play guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and there's
yeah.
and my Detroit Pistons in the 80s and early 90s where basically Isaiah Thomas came onto the court and literally was limping for half the game. Like
Yep.
you can limp. Like, okay, anybody gets knocked down in the NBA, you're gonna limp a little bit because we all know it's a
Yeah.
hard floor and it hurts when you fall on it. And you limp a little bit until you get back and your adrenaline and the whole thing.
Yeah.
This dude went to the locker room, came back, and he was like, "Da-doom, da-doom,"
Yeah.
limp, and everyone's
And
like,
the
"Oh my god!" And
and
so back in the day, if someone's doing that, you know it's legit. Now you're
yeah.
like, maybe,
And the only sport nowadays that people actually do that are baseball. You see a lot of guys that get injured, but they're like, I have this big game, I'm gonna play even if I'm injured. It's the one sport. In recent memory, the Yankees have a player, Giancarlo Stanton, and he has elbow issues because he's a power hitter. And
yeah,
one season, he just took steroids in his arm just to like not like performance enhancing, but just like
right, right,
just steroids to keep his arm in a place where he could hit, and he got him to the World Series. They didn't win, but he said, I don't care, I'm not taking season-ending surgery, I'm the wheel of this team. And
yeah.
that's baseball is a little more true, and that's probably why we like baseball so much. Not we as a people group, not necessarily you, but because
I
it's
like
still
baseball movies.
yeah, but baseball in general, it's still the classic sport. They haven't
Yeah,
changed much. There's a little more flair, but there's not. It's still the same sport. A lot of other sports have been changing, especially you look at basketball, and this is a whole sports conversation. But yeah, I agree. What was another movie you had after Any Given Sunday? Because you said you had a couple before the big
yeah,
ones.
no, yeah. I'll get to my last two in a second. I'm gonna throw as a uh, I'll throw these two together as like a sort of a runners up to the conversation, I guess you could say. Like you can watch them, they're enjoyable. I don't think they're like even though I think maybe they're like from start to finish, maybe they're better made film than say Any Given Sunday, but because of the caliber and the stuff with Al Pacino and Oliver Stone, I kind of put that in a little different sort of category. And again, it's not even a film that I go back and watch a lot. It's just it's like Any Given Sunday was worth talking about in that regard. But I say a fine football film was We Are Marshall.
Oh yeah. Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Matthew Fox, Anthony Mackie,
Yes.
um, uh, whatever McConaughey's wife, who's really hot, who I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
wow, okay. Um,
I
but
also just randomly with that movie the the uniforms of the Marshall team are just so good. That green
and
is
it's
awesome.
and what's great about that because you can make a movie and have it not be based on reality, but this one was, it was like it
Right.
was a essentially there was a college football program where 90% of the guys went home on a plane and the plane went down and everyone died. And so they basically had to rebuild their franchise from nothing.
Kimberly Williams Paisley, by the way.
Yeah, so let's hold one up, for Kimberly. And
Kate Mara is also in that movie. January Jones is in that movie. Ian McShane is in that movie.
oh,
Dathan
that's right, Ian McShane.
David
Yeah.
Strathairn or Strathern. I forget his how to say his name,
Oh,
but
yeah, Jason Statham. He
not
actually recently
yeah.
did. He actually did a Q&A at the library near me for some reason.
David's one of my favorite actors. Anytime he's in something, I'm like, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, he was fantastic in Good Night, Good Luck, I believe.
Yes, with George Clooney, great film.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's a great film. And again, sometimes when they're based on reality, even if like it's like you like it's not like they changed it, and you can't because it's a real thing. You can't just all of a sudden, oh, then they win the title. That's not how the movie ends because that's not how life happened. Um, but sometimes it is good, like the Invincible character movie with Mark Wahlberg, where it isn't that Mark Wahlberg plays a guy and he gets into the game and he becomes like an all-star quarterback and da, 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 da. It isn't like the Kurt Warner movie, which is real. Like
right.
he ends up playing like a bit guy in the NFL who plays for 2 or 3 seasons as a minor, role player. But the director did such a good job of turning it into a dramatic film. The same with We Are Marshall.
Yeah.
Uh, the other movie I was going to bring up also, and it's been a while since I've seen it, and I remember enjoying it when I saw it, was Remember the Titans.
Oh yeah, that's on my list. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about what your thoughts on it with Denzel and
Oh man,
Will
I
Patton.
so this is a movie that I watch almost every year because I love it's a for me this is the perfect fall film. It's like quintessential fall. And for this film, obviously Denzel, one of the goats. He has this great there's like two I mean the whole movie has good lines, but there's like
Oh yeah, yeah.
two memorable line monologues, and one is Denzel is telling people how he's running this team, and he goes, "You miss a blocking assignment, you run a mile, you fumble the football, and I will break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts." Like he's got this whole like you're gonna run a mile, this that I don't know the way he does this in every movie, but the way he just draws you in to every single time he's on screen. It, I, he is like personally my favorite actor of all time is Jimmy Stewart. But I think objectively, well, you can't say objectively because everything is a personal thing. But like,
Right, right, of course.
I think objectively he is a top five actor of all time. I don't think I Denzel is so freaking good, and he's my second favorite actor of all time. He has a thing that I don't. There's not any other actor in the world that I've ever seen that like every time they're on screen, it doesn't matter what he's doing. I am so zoned in to what he's saying, how he's sitting. He has like a still, like he's got like a still. We talked about this in another pod, I think, but he has like a stillness that like he acts with his entire body. It's not just his face. And even with his face, there's like tiny movements. It's not just the words. And it's in this film, it's so prevalent because it's a film about race, and it's in the heightened time. It takes place during the beginning of
It's like
the end
yeah,
of
no,
segregation.
no,
The
no.
the
Yeah, it was like the early '60s at some
Yeah,
point.
the it was the like one of the first times that the schools were resegregated or not unsegregated, I should say. And you get a young Ryan Hurst,
Yeah.
really really good. You get what's the guy's name? Wood Harris, is that his name from The Wire?
Oh, I
Wood
can't
something.
remember.
Wood
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's Wood Harris. But the guy from The Wire, you've got the guy from American History X that's now a really buff guy that was a really
Yeah,
really big
Ethan,
dude.
Ethan,
Ethan Suplee or Suplee?
yeah, Supley, yeah.
Serpley? Yeah. Uh and then yeah, just that whole collection of characters. And that's another movie too, where if you look up some of those guys don't act anymore. They were just like a jock that like auditioned to be in this movie and got the role. And uh, Will Patton, Will Patton is one of my favorite character actors. I
He's so
absolutely
good.
love him. He is good in anything he does. There's actually one of the Best Picture nominations this year is called Train Dreams, and Train Dreams is narrated by Will Patton. Just throwing that
Huh.
out there. But Will Patton, he
Will
plays,
Patton, who has a very small role in Yellowstone, the TV series.
yes. Will Patton in Remember the Titans has he's the white coach that was in there. He was winning. He was doing a good job, and then he gets replaced by a black coach, and it's his struggle of you see the struggle of like I want to win the balance of like good and evil, the balance of defeating any prejudice you have, and it's so well done. He acts it so well in a movie that's like you know it's it's like a Disney movie. Like it's not like, and I don't
I
mean that
mean,
as an
literally, I
insult.
think it might
Yeah,
have
it
been a
is a
Disney
Disney
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean that as like it wasn't made to win awards. It was made to tell a story. But the people that are in it were like, I'm gonna go balls to the wall. And he has this amazing. It is one of probably the greatest moments in sports movies. And he's like he brings over a guy or his whole defensive line, I think, and he's like, "We will blitz all night." Like that's his like that line is just like like yes, because he's finally all on board, and he's finally like all in supporting the team after like months and months of conflict,
Right.
deciding what was good for him as a person. And there's so many epic moments, and that's one of the movies I was talking about where I'm watching it and I'm like rooting for the Titans, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I know what happened. I've seen this movie. It's like, oh my gosh, but it's just I don't know. It's such a good movie. The music is great. It's got a lot of soul. It's uh, it's just a really good period piece because it's not only just about football, but it's also about segregation and the racial tension in our country throughout history. And I don't know, it's one of my favorite sports movies for sure, and I had to throw it out.
So, do you have just your one left?
I do.
Because I think I know what that one is.
Yeah.
So before we get to that one, because that's my final one also, I'm
Okay.
going to throw out, without talking a lot about them, I'm going to throw out some movies that a lot of people enjoy. There's a few movies that, like, now that I'm like speaking, I'm not going to remember the names of them, but there was a great sports. There's a great football movie with Burt oh,
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds back in the day. There's a funny sports movie with The Rock. There's a remake of the Burt Reynolds movie with who's the skinny comedian Chris Rock
Chris
with
Rock.
the Adam
Adam
Sandler.
Sandler. Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of movies that we're not gonna like talk a lot about, but there's a lot of funny
Oh,
movies or what? What's that?
honorable mention that I was gonna put on my list and completely forgot. Brian's Song.
Oh, I have that down. I was gonna list Brian Song
Okay.
and Varsity Blues.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then of course there's also TV shows like Friday Night Lights or
Well, here's what I was gonna do. This was gonna be my second before the last. Was I was gonna talk about Friday Night Lights because it was as well. It's based on a book, and then it was a movie first starring Billy Bob Thornton, and that is a phenomenal like football movie, and it's worthy of being in the top five just on its own. And it didn't get a ton of play as a movie, but uh, when they turned was the same guy when he turned it into a TV show, Friday Night Lights, that was on for 5 6 years or whatever it was, starring Kyle Chandler, Connie
Well, that
Britton.
that's what happens. I make a movie and then they just decide they're going to remake that shit because it's not as as good as my movie was. But I say fuck it because I love the movies I make. I make really good movies, and
I bet you didn't think I had a Billy Bob Thornton, did you?
Well, I think everyone has one if they when they're talking to themselves a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
always say he's like a realistic Hank Hill from King
Hank
of the
Hill,
Hill.
yeah, exactly. But they had like this. It was the start of Jesse Plemons, Michael B.
Yeah,
Jordan, Taylor
Kyle
Kitsch,
Chandler.
Chandler, Connie Britton. It is written so well and acted so phenomenally well. And we get back to our point we were talking about before about the difficulty in making modern sports films in terms of modern day, like where it's like any given Sunday, we're talking about the modern sports athlete in Friday Night Lights because it's a movie about high school sport. Like they talk about it quite a lot throughout the TV series about the influence of boosters and the money that's there and all that, but it's not as bad as the collegiate and then the professionals. So I
Yeah,
think the storylines of a modern day sports film worked so much better in Friday Night Lights just because even though it's corrupted in high school sports, at least high school football sport, it's not as bad as like as it goes up. So that's I think why
yeah.
it works so well. And it's just if you haven't watched it as a like how in the wintertime sometimes some of us like just like I'm gonna watch this TV show even though it's no longer on.
Yeah.
You if you like sport will not be disappointed with this show. It is fantastic.
Okay.
So that's just a
Okay.
hill I'll die on. So there you go.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So let's get to the best let's get to the top 5 sports film of all time and probably the best football movie of all time. Go ahead.
Rudy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Notre Dame football. Rudy. Sean Austin. Just an absolute legend. It's
And based on a true story.
yeah, which is even crazier.
That is kind of
Uh,
crazy, actually, that they took that and then made it into one of the best of all time.
yeah, yeah. And funny story about Rudy. Before I'm sure you mentioned your reasons for loving it, but my mom one time bought Rudy. She bought the DVD of Rudy for Christmas for all of us one time, and she was super excited to give it to us, and she wrapped it up, and somehow between Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, it vanished. And she has no clue where it is. And to this day, there is still a wrapped copy of Rudy in my parents' bedroom somewhere that they have not found. And I just think of that every time someone mentions Rudy because, I never got to watch it on DVD. I had to rent it.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, a
Yeah.
funny story about Rudy is that, talking to just peripheral stuff, this last summer, I believe it was, I sat down and watched it with uh, your youngest brother, Levi, for the first time.
Yeah.
And he was just like, this is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
it,
mean
it
that
just
that
it just
that
transcends time, you know.
yeah. Yeah. You put on any good movie, that's the goal. The goal is that it transcends time. Uh But Rudy, like sports movies, I think it is hard to transcend time with a lot of sports movies because there's just so many glaring things from that time period that maybe don't line up to where you're living now. But Rudy is a story that everyone can connect with. Rudy is a story of adversity that anyone of any, age or race or height or size like just can connect with that is like, yeah, it's the ultimate underdog story. It's awesome. And there's, the iconic scene of the handing in the jerseys and saying, "Hey, Rudy can take my spot." Like
And for
it's
those
just
that don't know, because we got to give a recap, even if they haven't, it is the story of this kid who's in I believe it's like South Bend, Indiana, or someplace, and he's just like him and his whole family, they love Notre Dame. He's this little dude that's not very athletic, and he decides he wants to try out for Notre Dame, and everyone at home is like, you can't do it. You got you're 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, as um, the great Charles Dutton says in the movie, and then he's like, I'm gonna do it, and he goes in and he fails as he goes, but he and as my guy Scott Adams says, you got to fail forward. That's the key. And he just keeps failing forward and like really working his butt off to like get to this point. And like I said, it's like you said, you can be short, fat, you know, skinny. It doesn't matter when you're watching the film. You can see yourself in this character. That's why he is so perfect in that. And that's in a way why Sean Austin, weirdly enough, who has been in one of the best kids movies of all time, Goonies, has been in the best fantasy movie of all time with Lord of the Rings, and he has been in the best sport movie of all time. That's impossible for a
and he was in
guy.
Stranger Things, which is considered one of the best TV shows of all time. And
Right,
so
I
just
which I haven't watched, so okay,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
But just because you haven't watched it does not mean objectively people think it's one of the greatest shows.
Well, I stopped watching it because I saw that they were stealing plot ideas from well-known sci-fi authors. That's why I stopped watching. So,
Hmm.
but that's neither here nor there. Sean Austin, who generally speaking, throughout his whatever 30 some odd years of making movies, he makes a whole lot of movies that aren't really great. But then he has like these tent posts that are like some of the best of all time, and
Yeah.
he's just so good in that movie and so believable, and you just root for this kid. Um, you know, eh, you know, and then we can't forget John Favreau shows up again.
Yep.
It's like
That
the
dude
third
is
time.
Jon Favreau also. Uh, he's like the third best guy in every movie you love. Like
Yeah.
he's so good. He's in so many good things. As he's like the movie's version of a sixth man.
Yeah, and I gotta say, even though I mentioned him already, um, Charles Dutton is one of my favorite
Mm,
actors of all time,
so
and
good.
it isn't even that you can go to an IMDb and like pick out like, oh, here's like he's in these 10 amazing films. It's just like when he's in a film, he's so quality that like it just reminds me of like the Will Pattons, like the guys that will show up on set and someone, a casting director, a producer, the director called them and they're like, we would love you to be in this movie, and they show up and just do a job, and he's just one of those
Yeah.
guys that shows up and does a job even if the movie isn't like super successful. You know that he's going to put in the work, and it just shines through in every role he does, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. There's
Yeah.
guys that are like that. And I think we touched on it throughout the podcast, but it just doubles down that sports movies are so much more than the actors, and the actors just make them even better. And you have guys like Dennis Quaid or Dutton that are like maybe not your A-list actor to everybody, but they are like quintessential actors and an integral part of some of these just amazing stories. And without them, like, you put George Clooney in a role that Dennis Quaid has, it's not going to be as good because Dennis Quaid
No.
has a certain grit that the every American has.
Yeah.
Dutton has this sort of countenance that the every American you can see in the every American. Like there's enough of, and with sports you need that. You need the. I mean, obviously, if it's not an American story, then you want whatever that culture is to be reflected. But a lot of these are American stories. It's because
Sure.
football is an American game. So for the sake of this podcast, it's American stories.
Yeah.
But like you want that. You want that quintessential American feel. And that's why these movies, a lot of these work, because they get the quintessential hometown vibes down perfectly. They get the
Yeah.
game, the big lights, the field perfectly. They get the atmosphere perfectly. And that's why these movies are so good and so just engaging. You get to the end, a lot of these movies you could have on in the background, but there's certain times where you're like, all right, I got to put down what I'm doing and pay attention.
Yeah, you got to
And
focus because
that's,
this is the final 15 minutes or whatever, and
yeah.
and I and I also think that's why, like you had talked about the lighting and then the music, and it does go back to the Quaids and the Duttons of the world. When they fill out, it's like filling out a roster.
Yeah.
It's like there are certain movies when I think the Golden Globes has a category for best ensemble. And
Yes.
everyone's like, oh, that's a great ensemble, because no one's like, there's always maybe one or two that are kind of bigger than the rest, but like it's basically like everyone goes into the movie thinking, I get my chunk of time to do my thing. And there's a couple that might be a little bit more well known, but everyone gets a chunk of time to do their thing. And I think with sports movies, it's not always like equal like that, but it's more equal than other movies, where in other movies you might play a bad guy who gets 3 minutes of screen time. Whereas like in
Yeah.
a football movie, if you're the starting center and maybe you're, the quarterback and the coach, or that's who the movie's about, but the starting center might get a lot of he's on scene a lot. He gets a lot of camera time. He gets to do it. He gets to act and he gets to
Yeah.
do it. And so I think the casting of those movies for sports film, the casting directors must love, or maybe it's a nightmare, I don't know, but I would think they'd love to do it because they got a bazillion actors and actresses to choose from. And it's like I get to pick 12 people instead of like 4 that are going to be
Yeah.
the main people,
And
and it's a lot of fun.
I believe this year or last year, they have best casting in the Oscars. They've added it as a
Yeah,
category. So
I don't know. I'll have to think about if I like that. I don't love the fact that they keep adding categories, that there's like,
no. Well,
there's 15 best pictures or whatever now.
I think they're also adding best stunt performer, which I think is really cool because it'll shed light on some really cool artists that like don't get named. But I don't know. I
That could
think
be a technical one.
yeah.
Like they
I,
had the Technical Academy Awards.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like it. I think I like the casting too because there's movies that you're like, how did they do this? How did they put this group together? How did we know that this group was going to work so well together? I
I
just
see.
think it's
But I don't know because I think there are some movies that like it's just a when like as a writer when you write a movie sometimes there is an ensemble that's going on and it doesn't mean that someone who wrote a movie who there's only like four main actors that they didn't cast that correctly. There's like four great actors. This
right.
they just cast like nine for this one. It's I don't know. It's that's why I'm like
That's fair.
I haven't quite decided on that. I actually think for the Oscars I think they should get rid of and uh uh they should backdate it and they should get rid of best song completely. Stick stick with the best
Best score.
composition,
Yeah.
but a lot of times it's like the people that are writing a song, it's already on the radio, and then they
Yeah.
stick it in a movie, and
Well, I
that's
think
not the
I think
same.
best song is only so that they can do the performances throughout the Oscars, which you could still
Yeah,
do anyways without the nomination. You don't need to have the nominations. I don't
I
know.
just
I
think it's
agree.
silly because then they'll like promote some dopey lady or guy who basically bought the song because a lot of people that watch they don't realize a lot of a lot of the music's on the radio. It's someone has bought the music and the rights to the song. A friend of mine, a small little aside, a friend of mine wrote a song for Aerosmith.
Mm,
Now, people don't know he wrote the song for Aerosmith because what he had to do is he wrote a song, and what you do is you take the song and you sell your rights away, and that song is put into a big jar. I don't know what I know it's a file somewhere, whatever. It's a big jar, and then you know,
it'd be awesome if
um,
it was an
Steve
actual jar.
Tyler. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Steve Tyler walks in and he goes through the jar and he finds one that he likes, and then he rubber stamps it that this is now Aerosmith, and they record it. It's not my buddy that's on that song, but it's his song. It's not they didn't Aerosmith didn't write the song, and so it just feels like there's like a lot of people that don't realize that these people go into the studios and everything's not everyone. There are legitimate musicians that write their own stuff, of course, and a lot of it's just it's like this stuff from like the 80s where they had the boy bands that was all just put together by some other people and they
Yeah,
just performed the stuff and
yeah,
it's just that on steroids now. So
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, this was football. In
this
preparation.
was football. That's true.
Yeah, this was football. We did talk about a lot of different topics, but we did highlight a lot of the greatest football movies ever made. And maybe some ones that were not the greatest ever made, but for nostalgia or for characters or for however, brought those up as well. What?
Oh,
Yeah,
let me add real quick. I have heard that the movie Brian Song is one of the best. Is
I've
a
heard
great
that as
film
well.
on top of one of the best sports of all time. I've just never seen it,
Me
so
neither.
there are probably a couple that
Yeah.
we just didn't
Yeah.
discuss. So
Let us know in the comments if you agree with our selections. If you disagree, if you have one that we didn't mention, throw that out there. We are always trying to watch new movies, so let us know. Before we kind of get out of here, is there something that you watched recently or something you're looking forward to watching coming up?
yeah, a couple things. I just watched a movie called Eddie the Eagle,
Okay. Yeah.
and we're going to talk about that. We believe in a week or two to we're going to talk about some Olympic stuff. Um, and you mentioned you talk about a movie you've seen because I just watched a movie
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about for a second, but heck was
Not
it?
movie, but show. I am currently in the middle of watching Sons of Anarchy for the first time, and
Mm,
it's so freaking good. I am in the middle of season 4. I'm on like episode 5 of season 4, and I started it last week, so I'm really cruising through these episodes.
yeah, that's a
It's
fun show.
it's so good. The writing is incredible. The acting is incredible. I love the character actors too. And I just ran into Danny Trejo working for the cartel, and that's fun.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, oh yeah.
just a lot of really cool characters. FX puts out some really good shows. I've really been
Yeah,
impressed with a lot of FX's work. Fargo was
yeah.
incredible. Alien Earth is a newer one, but I really enjoyed Alien Earth. The FX just does good stuff, and that's no exception. I'm really enjoying it. And then coming up, the trailers make it look like the movie's going to be terrible, but I'm really hoping it's not. There is a heist movie coming out with uh, Chris Hemsworth and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the trailers make it look like it's gonna be some January slop because a lot of January movies are just bad. But
But
it's
sometimes
got
they
a
stick
good
just they sometimes they well that's when like the Taken movies and stuff. That's where they stick
yeah
them sometimes. They don't
yeah,
know.
and it's got a good cast. I mean, it's got Mark Ruffalo and Barry Keoghan and Halle Berry, who hasn't done anything in a while. So it should be interesting. I hope it's good. I don't have good hopes, but I think I'm excited to watch it nonetheless.
Yeah,
Um,
I just I'm tentatively looking forward to the new season of the Godzilla spin-off one.
oh, Monarch.
Yeah, the trailer for the new season looks fantastic. It really does. But if they throw all this sort of nonsensical stuff in there that is just it's superfluous, it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
then that'll bring down the show. And it's like it's unnecessary. But the trailer, I tell you what, if they're milking a good trailer to create like one good action scene for a 45-minute TV show, then I'll be disappointed. If you have all this great action sequences, why don't you just create another movie instead of
yeah,
putting together 8 episodes or whatever? Put those 8 action sequences together and make a movie out of it.
right.
So we'll see. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Tentatively, we'll see. You know,
Okay, okay,
has the
cool.
great Kurt Russell. So
Kurt Russell can't go wrong, and his son
yeah,
Wyatt's really good.
yeah, he's really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. All right,
Cool.
well, this has been another episode of the Great Movie Pod. This will come out Friday evening before the Super Bowl, so make
Yeah.
sure to check the other episodes out on the channel. I should have them linked at the end of this one. But if you are new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Leave a like, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.